World Supercross. Round 3 already? Like, out of 5? I think they're doing a pretty damn good job. But there's some news that they broke. Honestly, that's why that makes sense there. Pretty cool seeing the homeboy Jace on the stream. But his dad, Brian, after almost losing his leg, comes to Australia, spends Thanksgiving, and decides to say, no, 0 chance that there is going to be 450 action for Deegan in 2026 Supercross, which for me is a big bummer. Big bummer. I know I pretty much said it that I was like guaranteeing that because of the Fox deal, we are going to see Deegan on a full 50 for 2026 Supercross, and that is not happening. And gotta kind of unpack that because I'm bummed. I'm bummed because we saw a lot of really good action from Deegan even at this Supercross for finishing 3rd at his first in Buenos Aires, and then here coming away with, what was it, a 2nd during the last moto, which I still find the starting procedure be atrocious because, okay, you got qualifying and then you got Super Pole, and then whoever's the freaking fastest, every time you're going to park there. Like, okay, you're the fastest in Super Pole, so you get first gate pick. Doesn't matter if you lose the next race, you still get first gate pick. And that's not the traditional moto. I get new wave of stuff, but hey, let's just have it where your qualifying is your gate pick, and then in second moto or the next race, if you lose, you get last gate pick. To me, that sounds like something that you should be able to do. And here, I'll turn on the comments here for some people that are commenting. So it's in the lower part of the screen for sure. And I'm not surprised by Brian because everything that Brian does is incredibly calculated. Like, you see it through Deegan's actions. And I'm not taking any credit away from Deegan because he holds himself really well. Like, honestly, I was at the track yesterday and guys were asking me who was the most fun to talk to when I go to the races. And I said Deegan was. And it's probably because he's comfortable in a camera. He's the content creator and he separates racing from reality, which a lot of guys are constantly always just in race mode. And that whole crew seems like when they're not on the track, they're not necessarily in race mode. But for him not racing 2026 Supercross is very disappointing because I wanted to see that race. But is it the best decision for him? Probably not, because his stock is rising and it's going to rise as he wins the 250 Supercross. And it'll go down if he shows up and Jet and Webb and Tomac and everybody start beating him maybe consistently. I don't know, because at the World Supercross, he got around Tomac with ease. He pushed a lot of guys around, from Jason Anderson to Joey Savacci. Like, he was looking left and right like, oh, these guys are going to try to take me out. It was a great race, at least in that second one. So if you haven't looked at it, definitely go find highlights for race 2 because that is an amazing recap. I'm going to recap some of the lines for my show on Monday, Tuesday, depending upon when I can edit it. And yeah, I agree with some of the comments that he can get top 5 in Supercross, but that's a lose for those guys. That's a 100% lose-lose scenario if he does not go out there and start winning. He almost won here. He couldn't get around, Webb and Tomac during most of the races, and even Ken he was struggling with for a little bit. And you got to give it up to Craig for winning one of the races too, because Craig, there was what interview was it that he said that Star Yamaha treated him very, very poorly. And I don't know if I believe that, but I kind of somewhat believe it because I think the interview came out of his own mouth, so, and what a shame because he's a damn good rider and he has been consistently showing. I mean, it was honestly this whole Tomac, Ken Roczen, Deegan was sort of shadowed by how well Craig did. Craig finished second at the World Supercross because you had Kenny win it, Craig second, and then Joey third. Okay, even though Webb won a race, Ken won a race, and Craig won a race. I honestly, the point system is all messed up too, with the 10 points for race 1, 10 points for race 2, and then 25 points for race 3. It makes very little sense. You know, it should probably be like 10, 15, 25, something where it just doesn't seem as monotonous, you know, where it's like, okay, we're going to go do another qualifier here. But I'm digressing, right? My point is that I'm pretty sure this whole scenario came from Brian, where Brian said, hey, dude, you're not completely ready. We don't need to rush it because we don't want to turn it into how you entered Supercross, where it took you 5, 6, 7 races, maybe even that first year before he started winning everything. You know, that was the only way he could do it, because that's okay. You got the futures and then boom. But for the 450, maybe he's not ready. I mean, he's got the speed and the finesse, but he needs to spend more time on that bike. And I agree with that whole camp that we need to wait for 2026 motocross. He's shown that he can go out there, he can run with the dogs, even when he gets shitty gate picks. I mean, at this Australian Supercross, since this is the reaction for that Supercross, he pretty much wheelied every damn start and almost got around guys, but people pushed him, which guys aren't scared of him. And maybe they'll start to be more scared of him when he gets away with more of the shenanigans, where him kind of cleaning out Anderson and Joey and Craig. And he was nice to Tomac, which was cool. You saw a lot of respect between him and Tomac. But where is he going to race now for Supercross? And I'm going to come up with another prediction, because the last prediction was horse shit, because I said he was going to be racing 2026 Supercross because of the Fox deal. Is he going to go back to Thor gear? Because that's what the Star Yamaha whole team is running for 250s. And maybe that's the deal with Fox, where they're like, hey, we get it. You can ride Thor during the 6 months of Supercross, and then outdoors your full-blown Fox deal, because that is a 7-figure contract. But because it's a 7-figure contract, maybe it is for the whole 250 class as well for him. We'll be seeing it. I can't imagine that he's not going to be on Fox, because it looks bad if he switches back and forth. But the understanding is that Star Yamaha 250 guys have got a big deal with Thor. However, he should be excluded. What if it's that big of a deal? It should probably be excluded, you know, because that's really was the one thing that was making me say that he's going to race the 2026 Supercross. Hence why he was doing a couple races here to get ready, but that didn't turn out to be so. Anyway, point being, whatever coast Cole Davies is not on, he's going to be on the other coast, because it does Deegan zero good to come out and finish second. And not to say that Cole Davies will beat him. I'm just saying he is the most likely to beat Deegan if they're head to head. And we'll see it at the East-West shootouts that happen 3 times a year during the 17 Supercross races. My point, from a strategic standpoint, he is going to dodge, or at least maybe the other side. Maybe Cole Davies is going to dodge Deegan because he wants to win. These guys make more money when they win. It does no good to just say, hey, you're the best 250 rider. That'll happen in outdoors, and that'll also, actually, it only happens in outdoors, maybe the shootouts as well. And that's the strategy that I'm going with that whole camp, is now that he is off the 450, it is now going focus for the 250. That's my prediction. Whether you guys think it or not, he's got revenge comment on a YouTube channel about Levi. Yeah, honestly, Kitchen and those guys, I don't think they can hold a candle to him consistently enough to beat him in a championship. Cole Davies is the only 250 guy that I can see do that. And now, got that. I want to know what you guys think. If you agree, we'll see. I'll have to come out and say that I was full of shit again, too, when they're on the same coast. But even from Star Yamaha standpoint, if you've got 2 guys that you know can win, it's like, all right, Cole, You go race East Coast, and then Deegan, you race West Coast, okay? And maybe that's how it happens, because it would be nice for Deegan to race West Coast so that he could then spend 2 months, 3 months or so getting ready on the 450 for outdoors. Because if he doesn't come out and instantly be a podium guy, it's kind of a problem. Then we're going to see some stepping tones that need to happen. Eventually, I think he's going to win races in the 450 class and potentially championships. However, the whole goal is to set him up for success, and that would be West Coast, Cole on East. He's got time to ride the 450 outdoors to start smoking and running with the big boys come Hangtown or whatever round one is going to be. As far as this Australian Supercross stuff, very interesting that Ken goes out and goes 1-4-3 for the overall. And he got shitty starts every single time. That track was very humid, very hot, very dry, 0 ruts. The corners were full of just dust. That you had silt on the whoops, which made them very slippery. I'm sure everyone was running some form of traction control. There was some talk about fuel, and maybe there's some laws that I don't know about as far as traveling the world, being able to carry your own fuel. But if you're flying your motorcycles overseas, you probably could, mail your fuel, your VP 110, whatever octane these boys are running, to have your bikes be set up for World Supercross, as opposed to every country you go to, you got to worry about new fuel, because that's kind of a dangerous part. It could grenade the motor if your whole motor is designed for this particular fuel, which a lot of race motors are just that. They're designed for a particular fuel level, whether it's octane, alcohol, whatever mumbo jumbo it's designed for, that's what it does. So that to me was interesting as well. And I thought the track was fairly racy. If you saw my track breakdown, good for you guys. I appreciate every one of you SOBs for watching that video and commenting, because a lot of those lines came up, and I will have the breakdown here this week about stuff. I was very surprised that Kenny got bad starts and was able to haul ass for race 1 and 3 through the pack and come through all the guys, Deegan, Tomac, like everybody, to win. And he did it with style. And Tomac is showing me that he needs more time on that KTM. That KTM, he is struggling with setup, especially in the whoops. He's fast, but he's just not perfect yet. And I'm not worried about it, as I'd be more worried if Deegan was actually racing the full Supercross series, because, there's that saying, you're young and dumb and full of cum, right? That's explicit, but that's the ideology when it comes behind when you're 19 and, you're just going to go out swinging every race I have to win, where Tomac is more methodical. You had his dad, John Tomac, on the broadcast as well, say I'm not really worried about my boy. He's done this long enough. He knows what to do. He's out there testing. He's racing, testing. He doesn't care that Deegan went around him, right? And he's like, okay, good for you. We'll see what happens in motocross, because that's when I'll see you. Kenny, he's ridden that same bike for years now, so it makes sense that his setup looks great. But I was surprised that he didn't at least win that last moto. And he didn't even try to get close to Deegan, which was interesting. He probably knew that he just had the points in the bag, but still, it was a little weird, because he went right around Tomac, no effing problem. And if I switch gears from Tomac, from struggling, right? He still was fast, but yeah, he was struggling. And for Tomac not being on the podium, that's I don't know. That's not the best look for factory KTM and Tomac, because this was the biggest packed house we've seen for World Supercross between Deegan, Tomac, and Kenny, right? And that's not even 1/3 of the field for 2026. Okay, these guys are getting ready for Supercross that's coming on here. By the way, I got to get set up for A1 as well. And transitioning to Webb, the defending Supercross champion. Okay, coming out with a 4th, right? Outside of the top 5 for the last race, but winning the second one. Okay, not on the podium either, but he won the second one. It was only worth 10 points, but whatever, right? And that wasn't really the highlight. The highlight of the night was freaking Deegan during that second moto, going back and forth between everybody while Webb was just out front, and it probably slowed everyone down. And maybe Deegan could have potentially been able to win that race because he ended up taking himself down, which was great because you had Jason Anderson that was trying to take him out, and a lot of other guys that were trying to take him out, or at least get close to him to bump him, because that's exactly what he did. That it's a little bit of hazing. I see some hazing going on in the 450 class, and we've heard it even on other people's podcasts with JB and AC's podcast when they had Kenny on, saying that, hey, I'm not going to let him just run around me, right? But they're very cordial off the track. But on the track, it's a totally different ball game. So to me, this was honestly the most exciting World Supercross race to see and to watch. The track conditions hindered the racing because how slippery it was. I mean, at one point we saw Tomac literally do a 180. Literally comes in, sits down, gets ready to seat bounce, and the bike just scoots all the way around. Did he have the scoop tire on where he had like 0 knobbies on the side? Probably, because that's his go-to. But I see some growing pains with World Supercross. This is the best year that they have had, but it's also the 3rd, 4th year. All right. I think it's 4th year. Yeah, I think it's the 4th year. If it's the 3rd, I apologize that I have no idea what I'm talking about. But it's also the new big wig billionaires that are promoting it. So maybe that's the deal, and it's quite a bit better. The facilities are better. The tracks have been better than what they have been before. Still not quite up to par, because I'm expecting, when you have guys like Deegan and Kenny and them on the track, I'm expecting the type of what Feld does, where they put together a very pristine show and track and dirt works. Okay. But these guys are traveling around the world. Get it? The whole rule book discrepancy to some other stuff. Like I don't get why you can't have mechanics on the line. It looks goofy when you have the riders that sit there and try to put their starting blocks on, and they're all moving their motorcycles and they're trying to hit their whole shot buttons. Like, just looks goofy. Let's be professional. You have that mechanic right there, but those are minute, tiny little things. It's progressing in a very important way with the professionalism that if I was Feld, I'd be getting a little worried. And normally with FIM, they have 2 weeks off between races, and these next races are back to back, just boom, next weekend, boom, boom, right? From different countries, which is wild. And I know they're trying to fit in because they want these nice riders to come over here, but they also have obligations for here in the United States. So we will see what happens in the next couple years, but it's all about follow the money. If World Supercross is able to push guys to be like, hey, we will double what you make in the United States if you just come race these 8 to 10 races here. That's the turning point. That's what I'm wondering is gonna happen, because it is leaning towards that way. Like, what is the PGA Tour to somebody in the comments will have to let me know what the other tour is for golf, where they were paying guys way more money, and PGA comes over here and they say, hey, if you go over there, you're never allowed to come back to the PGA Tour, so you're just entering your own grave, might as well. And then it turns out that they merge eventually, right? Could we see something like that happens? I don't know, because it'd be a bunch of big wig egos that have to do it. But guys, that is my 69 cents when it comes to what the race was like. Definitely go check out race 2 and check out this week's video that's going to come out late Monday, maybe early Tuesday. But if you're riding this weekend, make sure, keep it WFO, keep it on 2 wheels, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody as well. Bra da 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 da.